What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm the Croc Nick, and once again, the Metal Tag questionnaire has surfaced, and I look forward to doing these every year because these are just a ton of fun, and it kind of keeps you on your toes in terms of the weird questions that get asked, and this one is a little bit different. Now, usually it is the Rock Scout that comes up with this questionnaire. He was not available to actually come up with a questionnaire this year, so this has been undertaken by none other than Heavy Metallurgy. Both Marty and Alan came together with 20 questions here that I think are a lot of fun, and I think it's absolutely awesome that they are continuing this in Rock Scout's absence. If you haven't checked out either one of those channels, definitely check them out. And yeah, we're gonna get down to these questions because they're pretty damn interesting. So question 1, name a release you're eagerly anticipating in 2024. And there's a lot of releases I'm anticipating because, I mean, there's already been some that have been announced that I've been really excited about, but one in particular that I am pretty excited about just because I'm a longtime fan is Deicide. I really enjoyed the new single. I love Deicide. Those first 3, arguably 4 albums are, I would say, some of the most important death metal that I ever got into way back in my teenage years. And after seeing them live multiple times here recently with the new guitarist in there, they sound tight as hell, and I am just looking forward to some ultra blasphemous, thrashy death metal from Deicide. Number 2, Chinese New Year. 2024 is the Year of the Dragon. Show off an album either inspired by or containing dragons on the cover. And honestly, this was the first one I thought of. Keep of Kalessin's Reptilian. This is some really awesome, very epic black metal, and yeah, we got a big dragon on the cover. We have dragon-inspired song titles like Dragon Iconography, The Dragon Tower, and I would even say Reptilian Majesty is probably a reference to the dragon as well. I don't know if this is my favorite by Keep of Kalessin, but I really enjoy this one. I think the production's a little bit thin, but the songs are very epic. Lots of great thrashy riffs all over the place. It's very hooky, but yeah, this was the first one I could think of. And yeah, I think it covers both themes and artwork. So yeah, dragons are pretty cool, right? At least this year they should be, right? Let's see, question 3. What was your favorite album you acquired in 2023? Now, I deliberately left off 2023 releases because if you wanted to know my favorite albums that I picked up this year, you can just go to the top 40 list I did. So I went with one that I picked up when I was out in Denver for the whole Denver Death Fest thing when we were just skulking around at different record shops. That is Nevermore's Dreaming Neon Black. This was one I've been meaning to get for years, and I absolutely love this album. I had heard, you know, a chunk of it before, and it was like, yeah, I gotta eventually get this one, and finally sitting down and listening to this album multiple times, it's gonna be one of my favorites by Nevermore. Like, God, man. Beyond Within and Poison God Machine, probably 2 of my favorite songs on here, but this whole album rips, front to back. Absolutely killer album. So glad I found this one. So yeah, this is probably one of my favorite pickups just in terms of non-new releases this year. And again, if you want to see all my favorites that I picked up this year that were released this year, goes to the year-end list. Number 4, was there an album title in 2023 that you were satisfied purchasing digitally, not on physical media, and why? Flat out, I'm never satisfied picking up anything I like digitally because it doesn't necessarily feel like I've picked it up. It just feels like I have it in cyberspace or whatever. Like, it just doesn't feel the same. But one that I was satisfied getting digitally, mainly because there was no CD version for it, was Teeth's EP, A Biblical Worship of Violence. I absolutely love that EP. I think it's barely even 10 minutes long. It's ferocious grindcore, hardcore, power violence. Lots of Converge and Nails and just all the hateful, fast, loud things on the planet condensed into a just absolutely violent EP. Now, they did put it out on vinyl, like a 7-inch. I don't collect vinyl, so I saw that as just kind of pointless to get that, so I just ended up downloading it. And while I would love for there to be a CD of it, even if it's like one of those little mini CDs, I think that would be kind of fun to throw one of those out again. I can't say fully that I am satisfied that I got it digitally because, again, that just feels weird to me, just having things digitally, like, you know, a collector's thing, I guess. But yeah, that is definitely my answer for this question. Number 5, show an album that musically doesn't match the cover art. Initially, I was going to go with Helmet's Betty, just because I think that's kind of a weird cover, but I mean, the band was always very minimalist when it came down to covers anyway. So I went with Ghost's Prequel, because nothing on this album really screams this cover, which this cover artist did stuff for Deicide. He did the cover of the last Possessed album, which was fantastic. He's got a great style that looks very sinister and gothic, and there's really nothing like very sinister about this album in particular by Ghost. This is definitely where they took a very hard turn towards like, you know, more poppy, lavish 80s hooks and such. And with like the very poppy nature of this album when it comes down to its hooks, this album cover is a little bit too sinister. Like, I think the only thing that really ties it together is maybe the rats that are kind of on there, because there's a song called Rats, but they wouldn't be like super scary rats. If you were kind of matching them to the song, they would just be rats. They wouldn't be like mutant rats or anything like that, or demon rats. They would just be rats, which people have as pets and people think they're cute. And yeah, no, just not this. Like, this just doesn't match up at all. Now, I am actually a Ghost fan, and I do like some tracks on here, and admittedly, Dance Macabre is stupidly catchy, but yeah, I've never been on board with this album art, and I don't think it's nearly as clever as the rest of their album art, honestly. But yeah, that was one that popped in my head, because yeah, this art has never matched this album, and probably never will. Number 6, who is a metal artist you own the most items by? Now, initially, what I thought of was KMFDM, but I don't think they're necessarily metal. Like, they're industrial metal, industrial rock. They do have their metal moments, but I do have a ton of their stuff, and that includes, like, you know, the maxi singles they put out, because they're quite prolific. Hell, there's even some that I'm missing, and I have 27 albums by that band, counting singles, EPs, compilations. It's a lot of stuff. And then I thought, it's got to be Darkthrone. I got a lot of reissues. They have a ton of albums. I think I have 23 total. But the one I would say that won out is Black Sabbath, because I recently went and got the box sets for Paranoid, Volume 4, Sabotage, and I also acquired some of the Tony Martin stuff that I was missing. So yeah, at 30 releases, at least in terms of how it's organized on my media player, that's the one that won out, and I'm totally fine with that, because, I mean, most of that stuff is absolutely awesome, and those box sets, I strongly recommend. They are fantastic, and I still don't know why they did one for Technical Ecstasy and didn't do one for Master Reality, but that is a totally different discussion there. Mostly it will just end with me saying, oh my god, put out the Master Reality one, because I really want that. Number 7, show an album that you blind bought in 2023. And this is actually a release from 2022. This is Thy Listless Heart, Pilgrims on the Path of No Return. I knew nothing about this other than what the hype sticker said, and hype stickers can be misleading, but everything that they said on here sounded awesome, and I absolutely love this. This is a one-man project by the keyboardist from My Silent Wake, which admittedly is a band that I'm not super familiar with, but I definitely know the style. They are very lush, kind of gothic death doom, and I love that stuff. A big Paradise Lost fan, big My Dying Bride fan. And this is kind of similar, though it's more epic and more atmospheric, and I flat out love this album. Like, it is beautiful. It definitely has its very oppressive moments with like the big heavy guitars and droning synths, but for the most part, like the lush atmosphere and how layered it is, it's just really pretty sounding. So yeah, I literally knew nothing about this band. I think the day I picked it up, I was just looking for new releases, and I kind of just stumbled upon this and was like, yeah, that kind of sounds nice. I mean, I hope it doesn't suck, and luckily it didn't. Yeah, this is a fantastic album. If you have not checked this out, if you like, again, like Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride, Shape of Despair too, I would say is definitely in there. Check this out, it's fantastic. Number 8, show a title you own in more than one format. And I went with Incantations, Sect of Vile Divinities. I picked up the CD the day it came out, and then in a Metalhead box, they gave me the tape form. It is on an orange tape, and it is still sealed because I don't have a tape player, I don't plan on getting a tape player, and I don't fully know why tapes are still around, but that's just my issue. But yeah, I have this on both formats and I only listen to it on this format. But yeah, this definitely filled the requirements, and this will, again, probably stay sealed because I'm not on board with tapes. But I guess this is kind of a cool collector's item just because it's the orange tape and it was a metalhead box thing. So I don't know, whatever. Incantation rules. I don't think many of our subscribers are going to disagree with that statement. But yeah, two formats here. One that I actually do collect and one that is decorative at best. Number 9, Bookworm. Show off a release conceptually inspired by literature. And kind of low-hanging fruit. Mastodon's Leviathan, based on Moby Dick. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are doing this one, and full disclosure, I haven't watched anyone's videos yet, so I don't know what other people have picked in terms of this questionnaire, but I'm gonna go ahead and guess that some people have done this one, and I'll probably watch them after I'm done doing this video. But yeah, this was the first one that popped in my head. It's one of my favorite albums by Mascot. It's absolutely fantastic. This is just riff central, and it's based in a book, so fulfilled the requirements and got to show off a album that I absolutely adore. So yeah, cool. Number 10, name a band that you would travel a considerable distance to see live in 2024. And I have probably answered questions similar to this with this same band. And once again, it is Faith No More. I would literally go just about anywhere to see that band within reason. Like, you know, considerable distance for me. I mean, we traveled across a couple of states to go to Full Terror Assault and flying out to MDF. Those are considerable distances for me, but yeah, I need to see Faith No More. They've been one of the most important bands in terms of me getting into heavier music. I just love their eclectic style. Mike Patton is probably my favorite vocalist out there, and yeah, it just needs to happen. I know they were toying with the idea of doing a follow-up to Sol Invictus a while ago, but I mean, Mike Patton seemed to be perpetually busy. You know, Mr. Bungle did the whole Raging Wrath of the Easter Bunny demo, and God, that album is brilliant too. But I need a new Faith No More, so at least there's a reason for them to tour. And maybe I won't have to drive a considerable distance, but I definitely would. So yeah, that is my answer there. Number 11, Sour Grapes. Show a 2023 release that you enthusiastically purchased, but eventually lost interest in. And I don't think this album is bad. I'm going to preface that because I know I saw this on a few year-end lists. But it is Nea Bleviscaris, Exul. I like this album. I think it's good. I think it is an improvement over Earn, which, you know, that was also good, but it didn't match up to those first two albums, Citadel and Portal of Eye. I absolutely love those albums. I think they carved out a niche in prog metal that is almost completely their own, and they're still doing well. It's just, I was really hyped for this one. Super stoked because, again, this band is just fantastic. And after listening to it, I thought it was really good, but again, the precedence set by those first two albums, it doesn't quite match up to it. After listening to it a bunch initially, I really haven't gone back to it much. Again, I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I don't know, like, I have a high standard when it came down to those first two albums, and this doesn't quite match up to it. But again, still good, and I know a lot of people really love this. I just think it doesn't quite match up to the earlier albums. That's pretty much it there. Number 12, The Golden Child. Name an artist that you feel can do no wrong. And honestly, it's Enslaved, and they proved it once again this year with Heimdall. I absolutely love that album. I keep waiting for that band to just shit the bed on a release, and they just don't. I don't know if they can. Their early stuff, like Frost, is just fantastic black metal, but I love their proggy, spacey, Viking, what the hell ever they're doing now. It is, I would say, 100% theirs, and they just knock it out of the park with their songwriting. They're just an incredible band. And I love everything that I have picked up by them, and believe me, I own a lot of Enslaved. So yeah, that band so far has done no wrong. And there's definitely some other bands I could have brought up, but that was the first one that popped in my head just because every album just kind of blows me away. It's more than just being consistent, which, you know, there's a ton of super consistent bands out there. Enslaved just writes epics. That's just what they do. So yeah, that is definitely my golden child. Number 13, Overstayed Welcome. Name a band that you wish would have quit while they were ahead. Okay, I'm probably going to get some shit for this one, but it's Iron Maiden. I love Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden's one of the most important heavy metal bands to ever exist. Their earlier works are fantastic, and up to a point, I dug pretty much everything they released. But I think after A Matter of Life and Death, which I think is the last album that I really like by them, everything else after that has just grated on me. It's too long, it's too drawn out, and I don't know, I feel like there's like some weird identity crisis where they think they're a prog band now, and they're not. They are a heavy metal band, and I need to hear that again. The production seems to be getting thinner, and though they have 3 guitarists, I feel like it's becoming less guitar-centric, and it feels like everything is just being needlessly dragged out for the sake of making a 2-disc album or something like that. Like, it's really just not doing much for me at this point. Every album here lately feels like a chore. And I hate saying that about Iron Maiden because I love Iron Maiden. But here lately, these last few albums have been kind of duds. And I don't even know if it's necessarily like they're just going through the motions just to put out releases. They're trying to, like, I don't know, like be something that they are not, and I don't know, it just does not sit well with me. I'm just not a fan here lately of newer Iron Maiden. But of course, I will always go back and jam earlier Iron Maiden because that stuff's absolutely amazing. But yeah, that's my pick there. Fully aware that I might get some shit for it. But I don't know. Well, we'll discuss that in the comments, I guess. Number 14, show a band/release you bought in 2023 as a direct result of watching someone's YouTube channel. Now, this is a very recent pickup, and I haven't sat down and listened to all of it yet, but I listened to enough to know that I'm probably really gonna like it, and that is Death Collector with their album Death's Toll. Now, somehow I missed this one completely. I found out about this one on the year-end list from My Heavy Metal Journey. I stumbled upon her channel a while ago. She covers a lot of stuff that generally just doesn't necessarily make it all the way across the pond all the time here, and I was finding a lot of stuff that I just had not had a chance to jam, and this one came up, and I can't believe I missed this one because this actually features Andrew Whale, formerly of Bull Thrower, formerly of Memoriam, and I'm fucking slacking off, I guess, because this is absolutely something I would love. This is just flat out old school, gnarly death metal. I love that kind of shit, and the fact that this came out on Prosthetic Records, which is a label that I follow, I can't believe I missed this one. So thank you to My Heavy Metal Journal for reminding me that this one came out, because so far I really enjoy it, and you will see me probably gush about it more in a collection update in the future. So thank you, and check out our channel, by the way. Number 15, show us an otherwise good album that ends up suffering from being a bit too long. And this one was difficult because, I mean, initially I thought of going with like some Funeral Doom or Stoner Doom albums, which are generally, you know, a little bit more drawn out, but that is kind of the style. And, you know, a lot of like progressive metal definitely gets a little bit too lavish. So I had to find one that I think is really good, but it does suffer from being a bit too long, and it's not just because it's the style, it's just because I think there might be a little bit too much going on in it. So I went with Monotheist Scourge, which this is their lone full-length album, and I really dig it. I think, you know, musically it's absolutely fantastic. I just think it is a bit long. There are 3 10-minute songs on here, and while this is definitely progressive death, it is also tech death, and tech death can suffer from being a bit too busy, and there's only so many noodles that I can really take before I'm like, okay, I feel like you did that already. Just stop. Give me a riff, something to sink into a bit before going off in another noodly jaunt a few seconds later. I do really enjoy this, but again, I think that self-indulgent tech side occasionally just kind of grates on me. And there are some songs that I do feel are a little bit too stretched out, like mainly the 3 back-to-back 10-minute songs on here. Let's see, Infinite Wisdom, Desolate It Mourns Before Me, and Abominable Acts. While I think those are good, I feel like they could have been trimmed down a little bit, but I mean, overall, I really do dig this album. It just feels a little bit long, and again, there were a lot of albums that I could have brought up that I do feel are a bit long, like even Obliviscaris. Sometimes they get a little too long. Obscura gets a little too long occasionally. And again, tons of Funeral Doom and Death Doom, and generally like Doom in general can be very slow and plodding and monotonous, but that's kind of the style, and I kind of like it for those reasons too. So yeah, this was kind of a difficult question in terms of like finding one that I still really enjoy. I just feel like it is a little bit too long, and yeah, this was kind of the only one I could come up with at the moment. But yeah, I still recommend checking this one out. It's a solid album. If you like progressive death metal and tech death, this is kind of a great meeting of the two. Number 16, show us your favorite band shirt. Are you fucking kidding me? I have hundreds of favorite band shirts. That is like the toughest one. So I just kind of had to pick one that, well, honestly, I don't see a lot of people sporting shirts by this band, and it might be kind of a rare thing, but I love this band, and I love wearing this one out because I get a lot of love for it. Sluggage. If you have never heard of Sluggage, get you some Sluggage, because this band is incredible. It's like progressive death metal. God, I don't even know how to properly describe them other than the fact that they love mollusk-based puns, and they are absolutely amazing songwriters. But yeah, I wear this one out. A lot of people that are in the know about this band, like, holy shit, where the hell did you find that? That is super fucking cool. And I pretty much tell them I found it in a distro on Night Shift merch, and I really haven't seen it since. So I don't know if this is necessarily my favorite because I have hundreds of favorites, but this is one I definitely love. So that will have to do. Number 17, share a band that has been around for at least 24 years that you think is still strong / creatively relevant. And again, another one, I feel like there's a lot of bands I could have brought up, but the one in my mind that came up is Voivod. And fuck 24 years, try 44 years. I mean, it's closer to that. I think this band consistently just keeps pushing boundaries and continuing to evolve their sound. They've always kind of been like an outsider band just because they are so weird and quirky, but they have crafted some absolutely amazing music over the years. And I mean, I can hear their influence in a ton of bands, but at the same time, I feel like none of those bands quite capture everything that Voivod does. Voivod is Voivod. They do what they do, and generally it's pretty damn brilliant. And honestly, I think their most recent offerings, namely The Wake and Synchroanarchy, are two of their best albums here recently. So that definitely says something about their well of creativity that they are drawing from, because they are still putting out quality material that is 100% uniquely them, and still influencing a ton of bands now. So yeah, Voivod, I think that's a solid answer, and again, it would have worked for like 40 plus years, but yeah, Voivod's still absolutely killing it. Number 18, share your favorite band mascot. And honestly, I think it's still Vic Rattlehead. Like, I've been a longtime Megadeth fan. I got into Megadeth before I got into Iron Maiden, so sorry, Eddie. Even though you've had a lot of cool versions, Vic has always been kind of like just, one of my favorite metal icons in a way. As soon as I saw the album cover for Peace Sells, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And who the hell is this guy? The chains, the bolted eyes shut, the hooks in the mouth. Like, there's a interesting political statement to be made there too. And his look is overall sinister. He's like an arbinger of doom every time he pops up on a cover. Vic's just awesome. He's got some absolutely iconic album covers out there. And whenever he's on the album cover, I generally feel pretty good about buying the album. And whenever he's not on the album cover, feel a little hesitant. Actually, there's a couple of album covers where he didn't appear on the album art, and kind of glad, because I didn't want to associate his face with the contents of said album. Anyway, Vic Rattlehead, fictional metal icon. Number 19, grab bag. Share a random pull from your collection, no peeking. So the way I went about this one is I went with one of the newer shelves, because I recently just got a whole bunch of shelving, and I selected from that. And yeah, completely blind, and I selected Atari Teenage Riot, Is This Hyper Real? And yeah, I like electronic music and industrial, and I really like this album. I haven't listened to it forever. Honestly, I kind of want to go back and jam this one. So yeah, out of all the crazy metal shit in my collection, I picked something that isn't metal, which, yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of cool. There's a little bit of variety there, and this is kind of heavy for electronic music. I've been a fan since 60 Second Wipeout, which actually had Dino Cazares doing some guitars on, a couple of tracks on that album, I believe. So they have some ties to metal. They were on the Spawn soundtrack with Slayer, which was a really cool track on that album. But not metal, but very interesting if you like just heavy electronic music. Atari Teenage Riot, that's definitely the band to check out. And finally, number 20, show an album from a metal band that others may not consider metal. And yeah, there's a lot of bands that are on the cusp in terms of the style. They have like metal elements, but it's woven in with different styles, rock, punk, hardcore, whatever. And that generally opens the discussion to whether or not the band is metal at all. And there's a lot of bands out there that do that sort of thing that I do think are metal at their core. It's just, they do enough different stuff to where it is debatable. And one of those bands is Mutoid Man, and I went with Warmones, which I think is one of their best albums. And yeah, this band packs in tons of metal riffs, both like thrash metal, sludge metal, and even classic heavy metal. But also you have a lot of like punk, post-hardcore. I mean, this band features members of Cave In and Converge, so their backgrounds are definitely more in the metalcore, hardcore side. But there's just a lot of flat-out metal riffs on here, like Kiss of Death. That is just a nasty sludge riff that rolls through there. But again, it's that thing where there are so many other elements woven in with all the metal elements to where you could say maybe they're not metal. Personally, I would consider this band a metal band, even though they do have a lot of other elements to them. If I was to describe this band to someone that was kind of on the outside in terms of like a non-metal listener, I would say, yeah, they're definitely a metal band, but there's a lot of other stuff in there that kind of spices up a little bit. It isn't entirely metal all the time, but believe me, when it's metal, it's very metal. I mean, the title track has like Slayer riffs fucking all over it. But yeah, it is debatable, but I would consider them metal. I know that there are some that probably wouldn't, but I don't care. Either way, it's awesome music. I recommend this band's entire discography, and especially their new one, which is a huge favorite of mine from last year. So yeah, check out Mutoid Man. Check out all their albums. They're just a fantastic band. They kind of have their own thing going, and that thing definitely includes metal. So check it out. All right, that is this year's Metal Tag. And these are some great questions. Thank you, Marty. Thank you, Alan, for continuing this on. Rock Scout, I sincerely hope you find time to do these again because you do a great job as well, but I'm glad that Marty and Alan continued this one on for you in your absence, because these are just a lot of fun to do, and I'm encouraging any other metal YouTubers out there to do it as well, because these are just fun questions. So if you do that, make sure to tag Heavy Metallurgy, because they're an absolutely awesome channel, and I'm, again, glad they are continuing this trend. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also the home of our store. We have t-shirts for sale, we have new shirts, we have older shirts that are at discounted price, and we even have hats. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below. And of course, thank you all for liking, subscribing, following, all that jazz. It means the world to us. I know the same big thank you speech, but I mean, we had a great year last year. We're looking forward to making 2024 another great year. A lot of stuff lined up. This probably won't be the only video I record today. I've got some cool ideas I'm toying with, and of course, continuations of other series, collection update stuff. So yeah, there will be no shortage of content coming for damn sure. So once again, big thank you to you all, and we will catch you later.